Hey there, this is David, otherwise known as Macro Owner. Just wanted to share a couple of things. I kind of enjoy doing this stuff. It's kind of fun. On my way into work this morning, and as I was driving in, there was some kids at a school bus stop on the side of the road. And, that's pretty normal, right? But what's not normal is the older one has a hold of one of the little girls. So you're talking middle school girl compared to elementary school girl. Has a hold of this little girl and beating the snot out of her around the head. And so I immediately pull over to the side of the road, first available place I could park, and get out and, I don't know who these people are. Not my kids. It's certainly not anybody that I know. But, right's right, and you got to be able to live with yourself for what you do and don't do, right? So I pull over and get out, and I start headed over there to where the bus is, or not the bus, but the kids are. And the bus came rolling along down the road, so that was perfect, actually. The bus driver pulled up where those kids were, and little kids started getting on the bus. Well, of course, not this older girl, because she doesn't get on that bus, because I'm sure she's middle school. And I informed the bus driver that this bigger kid was beating up the little kid, and I don't know which one, because quite frankly, there were somewhere between 4 and 6 little elementary school girls, and I don't know who was who, and they were, like I say, they were all piling on the bus. So I talked to the bus driver, told him what was going on, and I look over, and here's these 3 adults had been standing there, and have they been doing anything to solve this situation? No. Hang on. What?
Yes, some ice cream?
Yes. So anyway, these adults hadn't done anything, and they were not going to inform the bus driver that this kid had been beat up, or who had done the beating up. And so I did that. And so of course I left immediately afterwards. But it was really disturbing to me. I mean, not just that the elementary school kid was beat up, but that these people had just stood there and watched and weren't going to say anything. They weren't going to do anything, and didn't do anything. They were just going to let this happen. And, is this going to happen as it happened other days? I don't know. Will it happen again? I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous. But as I thought about it, I'm just more and more angry. And I don't know if I'm more angry at the kid or if I'm more angry at the adults. I mean, the kid I can understand in a way. I mean, I don't know what happened to start it, but we've all been in fights. But, you got these adults that are standing there. And when I pointed out to the bus driver that these people hadn't done anything about it, he was like, yeah, that's amazing. He says, we got video on the bus and we'll look at it. So anyway, kind of thought about it as it went on, and how do I know that the bus driver is even going to carry anything forward, and whether or not this little kid's going to be okay, and whether or not I'm going to run into this bigger kid again? I don't know. In a way, it's not my business, but I'm concerned, and a lot of people wouldn't be, but I'm concerned. And so you see me out here reloading at the workbench, right? That's a sign of somebody who's a vicious person because they reload, right? Not, but anyway. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I talked to my wife, and she said, why don't you go ahead and, talk to the police. Quite frankly, I don't much like the police. I have not had a good experience with Salem PD, and I think they're lazy, and they do everything that they can do to fulfill that opinion of them often. So anyway, I end up calling up the non-emergency number. So call up over there, and that's all brass is ready. So I call up over there, and it took a long time getting through on the phone to be able to talk to someone. And then when I get this person on the phone, explain what happened and what have you, and they tell me, well, you know, we're not sure that an officer is going to be able to follow up on it because you don't know what school or who the people are or anything. I said, well, you know, I reported to the bus driver and blah, blah, blah. Point being, I really had to push. I had to push in order to get these people to do anything. It's their job. So I finally got passed through to an officer. Actually, they took the information and an officer called me back. But before that, when I say I had to push, I mean, it wasn't just a simple thing. It was, you know, they're saying, well, you know, of course they want all the information and so forth, and that's fine. But it sounded like the person was just going to, you know, not do a damn thing, not take any further information or whatever. And, you know, that's on them. They say, well, you know, you called the bus barn and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not my job. Well, do you know what school that they go to or anything? It's like, you know, I'm just being a good citizen, calling up, letting you folks know that there was a problem. And if you care, you'll follow up. And if you don't care, you won't. And that's the way I put it to them. And so anyway, they ended up putting me through or relaying to a police officer that there was this issue going on, what have you. He called me back and I talked to him, and honestly, for Salem PD, he's a pretty nice guy, I think. And as it ends up, he said he'll go out there tomorrow and you know, make sure that the kids know that somebody's watching and that it's going to make sure everything is okay and what have you. So he was going to go ahead and contact the bus barn and the police officer that should be on site at the school, and, you know, speak with whoever's there as far as staff and what have you. And I'm going, good, you know. But, I mean, there's several things that happened here. You got 3 adults standing around as a little kid getting beat up, okay? I wouldn't like that. I mean, what if that was my kid or your kid or somebody else? It's obviously somebody else's kid, right? If it is your kid, I'm sorry, I did everything I could do. Obviously, I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, right? And I hope that this little kid isn't going to have to deal with this any further. But, you know, the fact that you got 3 adults that are sitting there and doing absolutely nothing about the situation, then I have to push through a lazy dispatcher in order to get to somebody who will actually go out and do something. I'm grateful for the police officer. I'm really not happy with the dispatch. It should not take that much effort in order to, you know, do what's right. And for them to say, well, you know, I'm not sure that they can follow up. I truly had to say, if the Salem PD cares, they'll follow up on this. And if they don't, then they won't. And that's what pushed her to get a police officer, you know, referred over to a police officer. And that's just pathetic. I mean, that is absolutely pathetic. So thank you, Salem, Oregon Police Dispatch. I'm not sure that you're worth a whole lot, frankly. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, anybody that ends up watching this thing, if that was your kid, I'm sorry. I did everything I could do. I pushed as hard as I could push. And I think it's going to be okay now, but you definitely ought to watch and make sure that your kid is fine going back and forth to the bus stop. Because that kid, yeah, I'll tell you one thing about that older kid. She stood there still being angry and did not run off. She did not run off as I'm talking to the bus driver. And one of the other little girls said, oh, that's my sister. So they know who this kid is. And I even had to push that point across to the dispatcher. So They know who this kid is, and if they follow up, then things ought to be okay. But it shouldn't take this much in order to get it done. And it sickens me just the way that that this has happened. The laziness is intolerable, and it shouldn't go on. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.